Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, and I want to get the video started off with what could have been the steal of the trade deadline just a couple of weeks ago in getting Kadarius Toney. When I saw that notification on my phone that the Chiefs just traded for Kadarius Toney, former first-round pick Florida Gator, I didn't believe it. I absolutely did not believe it. This is perfect. And when you take a look at Kansas City in general, you already have an extremely elite offense. You're 7-2. You're doing just fine. Juju's been nice. Kelsey's the best tight end in the NFL. You also have MVS, my Packer boy, my cheesehead. Their offense is so multifaceted. The Tyreek Hill loss, it really has not altered the way their season was going to go in any way, shape, or form. And getting Kadarius, getting that X factor, getting that playmaker, it's going to make a huge difference. And we already saw the impact that it made this past week against Jacksonville, where Juju gets injured, gets a little concussion. We know that now. So they turn a little bit more towards Toney because his first game was against Tennessee. He only saw 2 receptions. He only saw 2 targets. So we saw 2 carries for 32 yards. We saw 4 receptions for 57 yards and a touchdown. And this is just the beginning. This is absolutely just the beginning. Kadarius, not only, at Florida, he was an absolute superstar. But last year with the New York Giants, he kind of, started popping off at the end of the season. He only played 10 games due to injuries. That's a big thing. You got to keep him healthy. He's got to stay healthy. But he saw 39 receptions, 420 yards, no touchdowns. You could tell, especially at the start of this season, last season, whenever Toney was suited up and playing for the Giants, they had no idea how to use him. They really had no idea how to use him. And with the Kansas City Chiefs, in general, just having Patrick Mahomes, but losing Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins this past offseason, they know exactly what to do. And when we take a look at Kansas City's offense, first things first, like I said earlier, you're 7-2. You're looking very good. That Colts loss at the beginning of the season, it could have gone completely different. We won't even talk about that. But Patrick Mahomes is playing once again at an MVP level. 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's averaging 326 yards per game, 106.1 quarterback rating. It doesn't even matter who he's throwing it to. If you have Patrick Mahomes on your team, you have an opportunity, you have a great shot at making the Super Bowl, as we've seen in the last couple of years, or really ever since Mahomes has gotten that starting job in Kansas City. Now, looking at the passing game, like I said, you have Travis Kelce, who's the best tight end in the NFL. He's got 63 receptions on the year, 740 yards, and 8 touchdowns. My number one thing, I guess I have 2 things with Kansas City. We're not really going to talk much about their defense today, but first and foremost, which they've done a really good job at this season, is just staying healthy. That's all I'm worried about, or not worried about. That's all I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the only thing that could bite them in the ass. Now, defensively, their defense last year was definitely, it wasn't good, right? It definitely wasn't good. They made some improvements. It's still I guess there's a mix of veteran and young talent, but relatively, it's a younger group. And those really are the only 2 things you could talk about when we're looking at Kansas City is you got to stay healthy, and can that defense hold up? Well, the good news is, once again, you have MVP Patrick Mahomes, so offensively you can keep up with, as we saw, as we've seen. Now, the Kansas City defense, I really feel like they're doing their job. And if you can just do your job, give your offense a fighting chance, that's the recipe right there. But moving on down the wide receiver room, you got Juju. He's having a very good season right now for Kansas City. 64 targets, 46 receptions, 615 yards, and 2 touchdowns. My cheesehead, I'm a Packer fan. MVS, deep threat. 43 targets, 26 receptions, 441 yards. That's an average reception of 17 yards. 17 yards. Then you also have McCole Hardman. You also have Scott Moore. You also have Kadarius Toney. So there's plenty of versatility in that group. But I think getting Kadarius if they can properly use him, which we saw last week or just 2 days ago, that they definitely know and are going to utilize him properly. They got it all. And when we look at the run game, it's very deep. It's very deep. You have Carroll. He got the starting job last week. 60 attempts, 279 yards, touchdown. CEH, former LSU boy, he's got 293 yards. I still think they need to utilize him much better. The run game, they're still getting 109.2 yards per rush, rushing yards per game, but I think CEH, I think he's way too valuable. I think he's way too versatile to be used the way he's being used. But more importantly, we'll deal with that when it comes. More importantly, the big thing with him is just staying healthy. And that's what he's been able to do so far this season. You also have Jerick McKinnon down there. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He can do a multitude of different things. He's kind of like a nice spark plug, nice guy that comes into, third down, whatever the case may be. He's averaging 6.3 yards per rush, but he's only rushed 34 times. And you also have Patrick Mahomes in his legs. And now you got Kadarius Toney. So they have plenty of versatility on the offensive end. Like I said, it's just going to come down to health and defense. And I think if you can keep playing defense the way you've played defense for most of the season, and if you can just stay healthy, I really have a hard time believing that, there's really only a select amount of teams that are going to be able to take down Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. The AFC specifically is very deep. To me, it's a lot better than the NFC. You're going to have some challenges with defenses like we saw a couple of weeks ago in the Tennessee Titans. They have a phenomenal defense. You have Baltimore's up there as well. You got Buffalo. I think Buffalo's a little bit more on the overrated side, but we saw last year they're definitely going to put up a fight. So all these teams are going to put up a fight. They all have good offenses. They all have good defenses for the most part. So I'm just ready for the playoffs. I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but 7-2 Kansas City Chiefs, they'll definitely be there. Let me know what you guys thought of this Chiefs video. If you want more Chiefs content, show some love down below. It's my first ever Chiefs video, so let me know what you guys are thinking about this team headed into, I guess, the second half of the season. That's it from me, and I'll see you guys later.